Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over an updated forecast for that heat wave, which is going to be moving throughout parts of the southeast and also parts of the central and southern plains. We're going to be going over all of that and more in today's video, so make sure you are staying tuned all the way until the end. Here's a look at the current National Weather Service page. As you can see, we have some air quality alerts in that gray color scattered throughout parts of the Northwest, and then we have some excessive heat warnings in effect for parts of Idaho and Oregon as well, and then there's another area for parts of Montana and Wyoming. We have a few heat advisories in parts of Nevada, Idaho, and then a bigger area for parts of Wyoming, South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, and Nebraska. And then we have one more area for parts of Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Arkansas. We have some flood watches in parts of Southern California, Southern Utah, and into Southern Nevada. And then we have some excessive heat watches in effect for parts of Central Iowa and Southern Minnesota. So there's not many more watches or warnings currently in place. Yesterday we had a high temperature of 118 degrees in Death Valley, California, with a low temperature of 28 degrees in Peter Sinks, Utah. The highest rainfall report was in Shelby, North Carolina, where they got 4.19 inches of rain. No snowfall reports as of yesterday. Here's a look at the forecasted high temperatures for today, and you can see that we have in those gray colors, that's where we're expecting the high temperatures to be above 90. Once you're getting into sort of this color, which you see over central Texas, that's where you're near 95 or even closer to 100 degrees. And then once you're getting into kind of these colors, which you see over some parts of Idaho, that's where you're getting above 105 to 110, even higher than 110 in a few of those spots. So that's kind of how to read this map. If you're just in that dark red, that's where you're above 85 degrees. So for today, you can see that we have two different pockets of really warm temperatures. We have one that's sitting up into the northwest and also into the northern plains, and then we have one more area which is in parts of the southern plains. Both of those areas are going to be dealing with temperatures nearing 95 to 100 degrees in a few of those spots, and it'll feel even warmer. We're going to go over your feels like temperatures in just a moment. So we definitely have some really warm temperatures within those areas. And moving on to tomorrow, you're going to see that that area of warmer temperatures only is going to expand. So by tomorrow, we have temperatures in parts of the Dakotas, Montana, Wyoming that are getting up near 105 to even 110 degrees in a few of those spots. We have in parts of the central and southern plains still into the 90s, so 90 to 95 to or 96 degrees. So getting fairly high up there into the low and mid 90s over that area, but definitely nothing that's super crazy warm in those areas. It's going to move from parts of the northern plains eventually into the central plains and eventually into the southern plains with those very warm temperatures. That's because we're going to see this high pressure move from up here, and that's going to gradually move down into parts of the southern plains. As that happens, we're going to see the area of warmest temperatures also move further to the south. Here to be by Wednesday of this week, and you can see that we still have those temperatures fairly warm all the way up near the Canada border, but it is moving ever so slightly further to the south, and now parts of the southeast are also starting to get in on those really warm temperatures. Looking at for Thursday, you can see that it has moved south quite considerably. You now see that areas into the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin are mostly now into the 80s, and even a few of those spots only getting into the 70s as you get further to the north. So we're definitely getting a bit cooler into that northern tier of the U.S., and then areas further south of there is where we're dealing with a big heat wave or really warm temperatures. You can see that now parts of the southeast and the southern plains are dealing with temperatures getting up near 95 to 100 degrees. If you look at for Friday, you can see that we still have those rather warm temperatures into these areas over parts of the southeast and parts of the southern plains. We have temperatures that are going to be getting up near 100 to 105 degrees, especially over this area near the Mississippi River. That area and the areas on either side of there is where we're going to be dealing with the warmest temperatures in terms of both the heat index and the actual high temperatures. So that's going to be the zone for the warmest temperatures out of this whole event. If you look at for Saturday, which is July 31st, the last day of the month, you can see that we still have those very warm temperatures in through the southern plains and the southeast, mainly getting up near 95 to 105 degrees. And if we're looking at feels like temperatures, they would be up and they would be near they would be closer to 110, maybe even 115 in a few of these spots. Moving on to Sunday, which is the first day of August, you can see that we're dealing with mainly just in the southern plains those really warm temperatures, but still it is 100 to even 105 degrees within that area. It does cool off though in parts of the northern plains and the entirety of the East Coast for the most part. We are cooling off into at least the 80s and even some 70s and 60s as you get further to the north. So we're definitely getting a bit more into a fall pattern, even though we're still in July and moving into early August. So we will be going into a bit of a cooler pattern if you live further to the north. The southern states will actually be getting warmer after this. So we could potentially see a bit of a rise in severe weather, and that's because we have now, for the first time really this summer, a big temperature difference from the north and the south, where we have temperatures getting into the 60s and 70s further to the north and nearing 100 degrees further to the south. That temperature difference can create low pressure systems and can also create severe thunderstorms. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see an uptick in severe weather over the next week. That's going to correspond with this pattern shift, which is also going on at that same time. Here's a look at the National Weather Service, or actually Weather Prediction Center's forecast for the maximum heat index on varying days. So this is going from day 3 through 7, since they don't make these for day 1 through 3, or at least I couldn't find the maps for day 1 through 3. You can see that in that brown color, that's what we're dealing with temperatures feeling like. So the actual temperatures are going to feel like they're between 100 and 105 in the brown, 105 to 110 in the pink. In that light pink, that's where we're between 110 to 115 degrees in terms of how it feels like. And then if you actually do see any of that yellow pop up anywhere in a yellow color, that's where you're feeling like it's above 115 degrees. So generally, over parts of the Tennessee Valley, the Southeast, the Southern Plains, we're expecting temperatures to feel like they're between about 100 and 110 degrees, with a few spots even feeling like they are above 110 degrees, maybe even near 115 degrees. So very warm. This would be for Thursday of this week. If we move on to Friday, you can see that it is still very warm into these areas. We have a wide swath which is expecting temperatures to feel like 105 to 115 degrees. And you can also see that really stark temperature difference where you can go and drive maybe just a couple hundred miles, and you're going to be within two different, completely different temperature areas. You're going to have temperatures that are going to feel like they're 105 in parts of North Carolina. If you drive up to, let's say, Pennsylvania and Ohio, it might feel like it's in the 70s or even the 60s. So you can see how we have that big temperature difference. That's why I think severe weather might start to pile up and pop up in these areas, just because we have that stark temperature difference. It can create some severe storms, and that's usually one of the main ingredients in creating severe weather. Here to be for day 5, which would be for Monday, or this is actually before Saturday, and you can see that we have temperatures that are between 105 to 110 all throughout the southeast and the southern plains by this point, even feeling like they're getting up near 115 in a few of those spots. If we move on to Sunday, fairly a similar story. Parts of the southeast and the southern plains still feeling like they're between 105 and about 110 or 115 degrees. But you can see how this every single day, this area, this northern extent of the really warm temperatures is gradually moving further and further to the south. So we're seeing this area of colder temperatures starting to kind of press in on the southeast and the southern plains, and eventually we're actually going to see this entire area be kind of confined to the Gulf Coast and the areas immediately surrounding there. So the warmer temperatures are gradually shrinking. If you get further to the north, you're going to be in a much cooler temperature pattern and a much more temperate temperature pattern. If we look at for If we look at for Monday, you can see that we have these temperatures that are expected to be a little bit cooler, feeling like they're between 100 and 110. So still fairly warm, but a little bit cooler. And you can now see that pretty much the entirety of the coastal southeast and the Gulf Coast is where we're dealing with these really warm temperatures. So that's day 7. So that's the end of the heat index forecast. One thing that I do want to point out is why this is actually happening. So this is the upper air map at 500 millibars, which is a couple thousand feet or a few thousand feet up in the atmosphere. And this is showing you where you have high pressure systems, low pressure systems, and everything in between. The high pressure systems are going to be in that orange area. So for example, there's by Wednesday of this week a high pressure system that's expected to be in parts of the Rockies and the Central Plains. Low pressure systems indicated by the blues and the greens. You can see for example, in areas of Quebec and Newfoundland, we have a low pressure system up in Canada. So that's how you would kind of read this map. The low pressure systems typically are associated with colder temperatures, warmer temperatures associated with the high pressure systems. This would be by Wednesday of this week. So by midweek, we're dealing with fairly warm temperatures still. We have that high pressure fairly expansive in through the Central Plains and also into the Rockies. But by this time, you remember that it was still very warm into the northern plains. The southeast, the southern plains were fairly warm, but nothing in comparison really to what was happening up in the northwest and the northern, in the north central United States. If you look at for later this week, so by this weekend, you can see how we have a completely different setup into the United States. You can see that we have a high pressure system which is completely dominated over the southeast. We have another one which is over the northwest and also into western Canada, but that's fairly unrelated from the event that we're talking about in today's video. And then you can see that we have two different low pressure systems that are just kind of moving around each other. We have one that's up in northern Ontario. That one is moving to the southeast, and then we have another one which is up into eastern Canada, and these are both just spinning around each other. So they have one big kind of circular spinning feature up into the northeast, the Great Lakes, and into the eastern half of Canada, and that's bringing in those much colder temperatures. So you have a trough into the eastern United States, so because of that, we are dealing with those colder temperatures, and also you can see that we have, again, these two systems just kind of spinning around each other. So this is not going to move around for quite a while because these systems are kind of holding each other in place. There's a blocking feature up near Greenland and into the northern Atlantic, meaning that there's basically nowhere for these colder air masses to move. Usually they would move further to the east with time. Right now they're going to kind of just sit here for a couple of days because there is really nothing they can do. There's something blocking it out in the Atlantic. There's a big system out in the Atlantic, and that's blocking these low pressure systems from actually moving out further to the east. So because of that, we're going to go into a relatively chilly period, at least compared to what we were previously dealing with into parts of the eastern half of the United States and also into eastern Canada. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. But before we completely wrap it up, I do want to tell you guys that right around the second week of August, I will be coming out with a bunch of longer range forecasts. So already I have a few in mind. I'm going to probably do an August forecast. That'll come out earlier in August. I'll also have your first winter forecast, your first fall forecast. We might have a winter/fall discussion, another one. We already did one of them on the channel, but I probably will do another one depending on when they release the new updated info on that. I'll also probably have a video on when you should expect your first frost, your first snowfall, how much snowfall you should expect, and also usually when you typically see your first freeze as well, and we'll also do your fall foliage forecast, whether you'll see more or less coloration within the trees this year. So we're gonna have a bunch of those longer range forecasts. It's gonna be over about a 7 or 8 day time frame. I will be answering most of the comments, so if you have any questions on those videos, definitely leave them down below. And later this week, or maybe even into early next week, I'll probably have a full breakdown on the community tab of my YouTube channel on when each video will come out and on which day it'll come out. So definitely I will be making those videos. I'll have a ton of content out for you guys over the next week or so and in the next couple of weeks. So make sure you're staying tuned, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you like the video, and also be sure to have your notifications turned on so you never miss a video when I do upload. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.